Good morning, students. I welcome you all for the online class of economics. Today we will be going to start the new chapter, that is government budget and the economy. In this government budget and the economy, student, we will be going to learn how the way government is making the budget and how the way the budget is framed so that technically it will work. As we know, physically the whatever the theoretical aspect the budget they are framing, it must match with the physical aspect of the budget. What is budget? A limit which is set by the government up to which there will be making an expense over a particular topic. It is known as government budget. The financial capacity of the government, you can say, but on a particular project or any of the particular matter of the society welfare, it is known as government budget. Government budget plays a very important role in the development of the economy. Let us see. First of all, in this chapter, we will be going to learn concept of government budget, objectives of government budget, structure of components of the budget. Then we will be going to learn budget receipts. Then we will be going to learn budget expenditure, and then the last budget deficit. Okay. Budget receipt, when we will be learning revenue receipt, capital receipt, and budget expenditure. Also, two expenditure will be there: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Budget deficit, whereas when we will be learning, it will be revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, and primary deficit. Let us have the government budget concept. What do you mean by government budget? Last day of the month of February is well known in India as a day when the finance minister present annual budget of the government. After that, 31st March, it will be declared. The budget unfolds the financial performance of the government over the past 1 year and the financial programs and policies of the government for the next 1 year. Both the things are dealt there. Last year performance, the government budget which was set, according to that how much performance had been achieved, and current year how much the target has to be set according to the budget. The two decisions are taken in the annual meetings. As regard financial performance of the government, it is more like a description of what happened during the past 1 year. Focus is placed largely on the other part of the budget, describing programs and policies of the government for the year to come. The programs and policies of the government are summed up by as budgetary policy of the government, also called fiscal policy of the government. It has two aspects. One is revenue aspect, second is the expenditure aspect. Revenue, when we talk, it is the income of the government in the form of tax and other non-tax duties, and whereas expenditure, what the government will be expending on the various issues of the society, that is expenditure aspect. Let us see from the book point what is revenue and what is expenditure. On the revenue side, the budgetary policy reveals expected receipts of the government in terms of tax receipt or in non-tax receipt. On the expenditure side, it unveils expected expenditure of the government in terms of consumption expenditure and investment expenditure and transfer payments. The government budget is basically an annual exercise relating to revenue and expenditure policy of the government. By managing the various components or elements of budgetary revenue and budgetary expenditure, the government tries to achieve economic stability along with faster rate of GDP growth. Government budget is a statement of the estimates of the government receipts and government expenditure during the period of financial year. It unveils and reveals fiscal policy, budgetary policy of the government, focusing on growth and stability of the economy. Objectives of government budget, when we say budget is not simply a set of statistical statements showing expected receipts and expenditure on the government. As already stated, it is an annual exercise relating to revenue and expenditure policy of the government. What the government is running, what the way government is using the money of the people, what the way where they are doing the expenditure, that all the things we can come to know from the government budget, in which revenues and their expenditure, it is explained there. Okay. The government frames its budgetary policy with a view to achieving a set of objectives. Following is a brief description of some principal objectives related to budgetary policy with special reference to the Indian economy. High rate of GDP growth. Through its revenue and expenditure policy, the government strives to achieve and maintain a high rate of GDP growth. It makes an investment expenditure on infrastructure including roads, dams, bridges and related projects. Investment-friendly environment is generated in the economy. Higher investment leads to higher GDP growth. Balanced regional growth, students. What is the objective? Very first, high rate of GDP growth. If the budget is properly set, expenses and revenue are in the control of the government, definitely our GDP can be increased. That is the high rate of GDP growth. GDP growth basically develops when we are having a strong infrastructure, because strong infrastructure plays a very vital role in the strong development of the nation. Balanced regional growth. What is balanced regional growth? If it is already explained to you, one or two state progress cannot make the development of the state. We have to make balanced regional growth of the nation. While allocating funds for infrastructure development, focus is placed on the development of backward regions in the country. In India, establishment of special economic zone is an important step towards development of backward regions. Tax law are relatively more liberal in special economic zone compared to other parts of the domestic economy. Liberal tax law along with infrastructural development makes special economic zone an attractive destination for investment. This contributes to balanced regional growth. Reallocation of resources. Allocation of resources can be reallocated. In market economies, allocation of resources to the production of different commodities is determined by the forces of supply and demand, called price mechanism. Resources are allocated to the production of those goods which yield high profits. Profit is the pivotal force of production activity. Social welfare loses its significance. The government corrects the allocation of resources through its tax policy. High taxes are levied on the production of luxury goods meant for the rich people, while subsidies are offered for the production of necessities of life. This way, government balance between the reallocation of resources. Reallocation of resources is the central theme of the budgetary policy of the government, in which government makes the budget in such a way that rich people will not become too much rich, poor people will not become too much poor. Balance of economy can be done. Next is redistribution of income and wealth. Definitely, student, redistribution of income and wealth plays a very vital role. The distribution of income and wealth is highly skewed, unequal in countries like India. Economic divide, the gulf between the rich and the poor, is huge and alarming. The problem of economic divide is combated by the revenue and expenditure policy of the government. On the revenue side, the government offers tax exemption to poorer sections on the society. On the expenditure side, the government offers free education and healthcare to those living below the poverty line. Also, subsidized supplies of food grains are offered to economically weaker sections of the society. So that is a redistribution of income and wealth. Employment opportunities. Investment in public enterprise and the provision of administrative services generates employment opportunities. Programs like Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act are launched as an important element of budgetary policy in India. These programs provide minimum guaranteed employment to the people in rural areas. So that is employment opportunity, student. Investment in public enterprises and provision of administrative services has been generated employment opportunities. Manrega is very popular, under which many people getting employment, and in a good post, government post, they are getting the employment opportunity. Government is finding the opportunity of job and they are offering to the general public, so that poor people and the middle income group, with if they are literate, they are educated, they can get the job under the Manrega. Next is economic stability. Stability of income can be possible when the budget is properly set. Economic stability is an important focus area of the fiscal policy. By pursuing an appropriate fiscal policy, the government tries to correct the situation of inflationary and deflationary gap in the economy. Inflationary gap is corrected by reducing government expenditure and increasing the revenue. Definitely, if government will be expending more and revenue will be less, they cannot make the economic progress of the nation. When expenditure is lowered and revenue is raised, liquidity is soaked from the economy. Aggregate demand is reduced and inflation is corrected. On the other hand, when expenditure is raised and revenue is lowered, more liquidity is infused in the economy. This raises aggregate demand and deflation is corrected. Briefly, the budgetary control policy of the government focuses on GDP growth along with the stability of the economy. The focus is also placed on inclusive growth, implying that the benefits of growth are shared by all the sections of the society. This is to promote equality or social justice. What do you mean by fiscal discipline? Fiscal discipline is nothing, student, Fiscal discipline refers to a state of an ideal balance between revenue and expenditure. Fiscal means the taxation policy which the government had laid down. If they are getting the amount according to that only, if they are getting the revenue according to that, it calls for a necessary check on the expenditure in view of the limited revenues of the government. Government revenue is not so much. Has tax there are not is not paid by many people, and many people are not coming in under the tax rate. Because of that, revenue of the government become less. Lack of fiscal discipline it often causes excess expenditure in relation to the volume of output in the economy. It generates inflationary spiral where wages catch prices and prices catch wages. High cost of production and low aggregate demand starts hurting the process of investment. Reduction in investment causes unemployment. Unemployment can cause the economic development to be down. The economy is driven into a low level equilibrium trap. Now we will be going to learn structure of the budget or components of the budget. What is the structure, student? Here comes the capital expenditure, the revenue expenditure, the capital receipts and the revenue receipts. So let us see structure of the budget or components of the budget. What all constitute? Structure of the budget refers to the components of budget. The budget has two broad components. One is revenue budget and also called revenue account, and second is capital budget, also called capital account. Revenue budget includes revenue receipts and revenue expenditure of the government, whereas revenue account shows current receipts of the government. Again, it is bifurcated: revenue receipt, revenue account, current receipts of the government and related expenditure. Capital budget includes capital receipts and capital expenditure of the government, or we can say that capital account shows capital receipts of the government and related expenditure. Components of the budget may also be looked at from a different angle. Two broad categories are budget receipt, budget expenditure. Budget receipt includes revenue receipt and capital receipt, and budget expenditure include revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So we can focus on budget receipts and budget expenditure components of the budget. Details are as under. Budget receipt, when we talk, student, this is that receipt which refers to estimated money receipts of the government from all sources during the fiscal year. Broadly, the budget receipts are classified as revenue receipt and capital receipts. Okay, first we are going to learn what are the receipts earned by the government, that is budget receipt. In that, it is classified into how much? Revenue receipt and capital receipts. Following are the details about revenue receipt. What all things will come in revenue receipt? All such money receipts of the government are classified as a revenue receipt show the following two categories. Very first, these receipts do not create any corresponding liability for the government. Like tax receipt, for example, is a revenue. Tax receipt example is a revenue receipt because it does not add corresponding liability for the government. Okay, it does not add the liability because they don't have to pay back anything. That will be coming in revenue receipt. Tax is a unilateral. When the government is taking the tax, it is not giving anything in else. Is a unilateral or compulsory payment of to the government. This receipt do not cause any reduction in the assets of the government. These 2 points you have to remember. Revenue receipt, this receipt do not create any corresponding liability for the government, and second thing, this receipt do not cause any reduction in assets of the government. Example, receipts of the government when it sells its shares of company like Maruti Udyog causes reduction in the assets of the government, therefore do not to be treated as revenue receipt. So whatever thing we will be taking revenue receipts, that assets of the government must not be reduced, plus liabilities of the government must not be there. It must be unilateral transaction. Revenue receipts of the government may thus be defined as those money received do not create a liability for the government and as well do not lead to assets of the government. Is borrowing by the government a revenue receipt? The answer is no. Why? Because in this borrowing by the government, liabilities is not, it creates a liability for the government. They have to pay back. Because of that, it will not be coming in revenue receipt. Revenue receipts are further classified or has tax receipt and non-tax receipt detailed in the following chart. Constituents of revenue receipts. Revenue receipt is classified into tax receipt, non-tax receipt. Tax receipt, incurred tax, corporation tax, estate duty, gift tax, custom duty. Excise duty, sales tax. Whereas non-tax receipts, fees, fine, escheat, special assessment, income from public enterprise, income from sales of spectrums like 2G spectrum and 3G spectrum, 4G, grants and donation, that will be having the non-tax receipt. What is tax receipt? All those type of revenue receipts of the government in which we are getting the receipts back after paying there, like income tax, we are getting a income tax return statement in return. Non-tax receipt, like for example challan in the traffic rule signals, the penalty which we are paying for, the fine which we are paying for that, we are not getting any receipt from the government. It is non-tax receipt. The tax receipt is not pakka, it is the kacha tax receipt which is known as non-tax receipt. Likewise, many things are there where we are not getting the complete receipts properly. That is non-tax receipt. Let us have the tax receipt one by one. A tax is a compulsory payment to the government by the household's institutional units. The taxpayer cannot expect any service or behalf of government in return. If a person fails to pay tax, he is liable to pay the penalty. A tax is a compulsory payment made by an individual, household or a firm of the government within to anything in return. So that is the tax receipt, student. It is a compulsory payment to the government by the household institutional units. Every person who is earning the income, they have to pay the tax. That is known as the income tax. So let us have one by one that things. Their taxes are broadly classified as under progressive, regressive tax, value added, specific tax, direct and indirect tax. So progressive tax, what do you mean by progressive tax? Taxes are classified as progressive and regressive depending on the real burden of taxation. Detail are as under. Progressive tax, when we talk, a tax is said to be progressive when the rate of tax increases with an increase in income, so that the real burden of the tax is more on the rich and less on the poor. Example, tax rate is 10% for income between rupees 2 to rupees 5 lakh. It is 15% for income return between rupees 5 to rupees 10 lakh, and so on. So it is progressive. As you can see, the tax rate is increasing year after year. Thus, tax rate increases as the level of income increases. That is known as progressive taxes. Regressive tax. A tax is said to be regressive when it causes a greater real burden on the poor than the rich people. It is known as regressive tax. When the rich people is not having any burden, though the tax rate is increasing, but they are not burdenized with the tax rate. It is common for them. But poor people, it will get affected. So that way it is known as regressive tax. Like for example, if a person with rupees 1 lakh has his monthly income, pays 10% income tax or pays rupees 10,000, he still has a balance of rupees 90,000 per month. But if a person with rupees 5,000 has his monthly income, has to pay 10% income tax or pay rupees 500, it might mean a cut in his essential consumption, leading to poor diet and therefore poor health. Thus, a constant rate of taxation on the rich and poor is a regressive tax, as it causes a greater real burden on the poor and than the rich people. Value added tax or VAT and specific taxes. Depending upon tax base, tax can be classified as value added tax or VAT, specific tax. Value added tax, when we talk, student, value added tax is an indirect tax which is paid by the consumer, which is imposed on the value added at the various stages of production. Value added refers to the difference between value of output and value of input, intermediate consumption. The difference which comes, it is known as the VAT. It is imposed at each stage of production and is a proportionate tax. Specific tax. When a tax is levied on the commodity on the basis of its units, size or weight, it is known as specific tax. Like postal tax, postal charges are there according to weight. Same way, specific tax according to the goods. Direct and indirect taxes, the third category of tax. Taxes are classified as direct and indirect depending on the final burden. Direct tax, when we talk, a direct tax is the one final burden of which is borne by the person or whom it is imposed. For example, income tax is imposed on the income of a person and he himself bears its burden. The burden of tax cannot be shifted to any other person who is earning the income. He or she have to pay the tax. Income tax, corporation tax, gift tax, wealth tax are example of direct tax. Paper taxes. These refer to the taxes like wealth tax and gift tax in India, which carry their significance only on paper. These taxes are of little or no significance in terms of their revenue yield. According to Professor Dalton, a direct tax is really paid by the person or whom it is illegally imposed. Indirect tax. An indirect tax is the the final burden of which can be shifted to other persons. Sales tax, excise duty, custom duty are example of indirect tax, which is charged on the seller of the goods, but it is indirectly taken from the consumer of the goods. The sales tax is levied on the traders, shopkeepers, but it is paid by and they are to pay it to government, but they charge this tax from the buyer by adding it to the price of the goods sold. So according to Professor Dalton, an indirect tax is imposed on one person but paid partially or wholly by another person. Today's class this much only, student. Next class I will be going to explain the non-tax receipt. Thank you for today's class. Have a nice day.